You're one of those guys. You don't like the Jays, do you?
I don't. I don't like the Jays.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on, Duncan. We'll talk to you later.
Hey, everybody, this is Greg Zahn.
This is Anthony Telford.
You're listening to The Walk-Off with Scott Belford and Adam Mack.
This is Duncan Sourisseau with OHMY yesterday, and you've been listening to Scott Belford and Adam Mack on the Walk-Off podcast.
All right. Thrilled to be joined right now by owner, operator, designer, shipper, accountant, just a one-man band for OHMY yesterday, OHMY Sports Apparel, Duncan Sourisseau. Thank you so much for joining us, buddy. Welcome to the Walk-Off.
Thanks for having me, Scott.
Yeah, man. So you're set up in Calgary right now, correct?
I am, yes.
And you have all of your, it looks like you're in your warehouse right now.
yeah. Office, warehouse, design lab. Yeah.
That's great, buddy. Tell me, let's start with OHMY, okay? Tell me about OHMY yesterday. What got you into the sports apparel business?
So I'm an athlete. I've been an athlete since I can remember. I grew up in Winnipeg, so and I'm 32, so I cried when the Jets left because I was 5 years old, and
of course
cried when I came back and was 28 years old or whatever, right? And so my dad and I always connected over sports. He was my first coach for baseball, for basketball, taught me a lot of different stuff, and then kind of turned me over to some better coaching, as he would say, when I got to a level that he knew he couldn't take me any further. And so just always been an athlete. So that's where the love of sports came in. But then like, I'm a son of a teacher. My mom's a teacher, and she always said, hey, you have to be well-rounded. Like, you can't just be playing sports. You gotta take care of the classroom. You have to have some other interests.
One of those parents. God.
Yeah. And at the time you weren't always big into it, but then as things went on, my kind of love of art and just understanding the balance really helped. And it was a place when maybe stuff on the field wasn't going as well, you could go and work in your sketchbook, and then vice versa. When you were tired of whatever, school and art and whatnot, you always had the athletic side as kind of an outlet. So
at what age did you kind of start to find that artistic side of yourself?
Early. Like, I was early. Like, I can tell you stories of, like, I was in grade 1, and me and my best friend are drawing, and I'm looking over and I'm going like, man, he's way better than me. Like, and just trying to get better and drawing. And then like grade 3, I was in a class that had grades 3, 2, and 1 in it. And so I'm in grade 3. I'm the, like, old kid. You take a younger kid under your wing and they partner you up. And me and my buddy Cam we were designing goalie masks. And so we had a little template, and then we were drawing goalie masks on it and making books. And, like, so just, it always kind of was there. And I didn't necessarily know that you could turn it into a career somehow.
Right.
How do you design shoes? How do you design apparel? How do you do that? Like, a little kid from Winnipeg, where at the stage where when we were growing up, you couldn't just Google that, right? You can't just find out how to do that stuff, right? So it wasn't really made known to me necessarily, but then I don't know, you catch some breaks along the way and figure out how to put some stuff on some t-shirts every now and then, and then down the road it turned into OHMY. So
I kind of relate to that a lot, about how when you're growing up, especially before the internet, it was just like, I remember, like, because I'm a professional comedian, and the idea of being a comic when I grew up in Grand Prairie, Alberta, like, you might as well have said I could be an astronaut, or, like, sure, my parents were supportive, but I didn't know what the hell I was doing or how to go about doing it, right? So
if nobody knew the comedian, how did you find out how to be one? Like, it just...
That's exactly it. Like, how do you find out? So that's my question for you then. Like, what was it that pushed you towards the design world? And when did you figure out that, you know what, this is something that I could pursue? This isn't such a pie in the sky idea. This is something that is attainable.
So my dad's trained as a graphic designer. So I had really good school projects, and he was teaching me lots of different stuff. Like, my cover of the book looked like a magazine when the other kids were coloring it in with pencil crayons. Like, I had that advantage. But I would say 2 years ago, like 2 years ago, I realized, hey, I could sell enough. Hey, I know enough people. Hey, this thing has some momentum. Hey, you've studied some marketing stuff in school and branding, and you know kind of what you're doing. And being an artist and a business owner and a designer and a whatever, like all that stuff, you can kind of put it together and make it work. And I would say 2 years ago, you kind of went, oh, okay, maybe I could. So
there is something to be said for doing it independently. I mean, you do have to wear a ton of different hats. I mean,
Totally.
You need to do the design side. And I know I'm kind of in a similar business where, you know, once you have a product worth selling, then you need to like figure out how to sell it, right? And I mean, you don't have a shop, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
So you're doing everything online. What were some of the advantages and some of the pitfalls you've run into that? And are you getting the feel for it?
Totally. Yeah. Oh yeah. We're we're in the zone. We've figured out a lot of things. I had when I was still in university, I started a different clothing brand and ran it for a year and a half, and it fell flat on its face. But the stuff that I learned from that, coupled with, I had a job with at Site One selling landscape supplies with three beauties, Joel, Griff, and Brian. Like, I don't know if they listen to these podcasts, but if they are, they're getting a shout out today. And just the stuff that they taught me about sales, and that was a kind of a sticking point for me before. I was like, man, I could do the designs, but I can't sell. Like, I'm not confident enough in it, or I don't know how to close that deal, or everybody's getting the family deal and then I don't have any money. Like, so a lot of those different opportunities and jobs that I had along the way kind of set me up for that. And then the advantage of being on the website is that it's exclusive, right? It's not, I don't have to go to stores and hawk it and compete with other people. It's like, if you come to our site, you're only looking at our stuff. You know, it's a limited run. You know, we're coming out with new stuff. You know, we're made specifically for athletes. You know, you can message the brand and you get me, or you get Corey, our sales guy in Winnipeg, or whatever, right? Like, there's that personal touch. You get a handwritten note. If you're the mom and you order and you say, hey, this is for Scott's birthday, then the note says, hey, Scott, happy birthday. Like, it doesn't just say, thanks for your business or whatever, right? Like, it's very personalized. And I believe in that you should be able to do some of those things and not have to worry about scaling it so much that you lose that personal touch, but then still be successful and whatever, make the money that you need to survive and live and live the life that whatever I've chosen and whatever those numbers are. But yeah, I'd say we're nicely approaching that. And then there's a lot of momentum where you're like, oh man, like this could really like blow up. Like, there's a lot of people that connect to it and that it means something to. So
that's really interesting. I know, like, obviously sports apparel is an incredibly competitive industry, especially if you start talking about the big guys like Nike and Reebok and Adidas, and the list goes on and on. So as the little guy, how have you positioned yourself in the market to kind of be that that personal touch? And how have you grown your brand over the last couple of years?
I like that question. That's a great question. So when I started and I wrote it down in my sketchbook, and I was like, okay, what are we going to do? Because it's so competitive. And it was, okay, we're going to do off field, off ice, off court. Like, it's what your athlete goes and grabs when they change out of their jersey. But that takes way too long to explain to anybody.
Right.
So I came up with, and I don't care who says it, I don't care. I came up with post-game apparel. Now, I'm sure somebody wrote it down somewhere else, but I came up with that on my own, coined that phrase, and I was like, that's what we do. It's post-game apparel. It doesn't mean you can't wear it pre-game, but right, it's post-game apparel. It's what you wear afterwards that shows that you're still the athlete, that you have that drive, that the little reminders, those kind of things. And what that does is I don't have to dabble with, like, people go like, man, you should make performance this or performance that, or like, would you make me shoulder pads? That'd be so cool for hockey. And it's like, well, yeah, that'd be great, but we can't do all that stuff because we're not Nike. So we're the post-game apparel brand with a chip on our shoulder, and away we go. And that allows us to kind of stay in that lane and not necessarily get distracted by all the offerings. We branched out now with like the Letterman project we just dropped with a backpack and a duffel bag, but it's like you have to kind of have that slow growth, and like I won't say mastered, but it's like we have a very good t-shirt and we have very good hoodies and we've been successful with a few different hats and stuff. And so it's like, you have to make sure that those products are quality, because being the little guy, you might get 2 chances. So I get 1 chance when I mail you your stuff, you get it, it's great. If there's a defect or something and you go, hey Duncan, this didn't quite work. Okay, well now I get 1 more chance. And if the next one sucks, you're not coming back. Right. And so you just have to be kind of sure about the things that you're going to drop that way. So
that's really interesting how you speak about staying in your lane a little bit, right? As being the little guy, you almost have to find your market and then grow from there. So you roughly touched on the Letterman bags, and I know you just became a new dad, so congratulations on that.
Thank you.
One thing about being a dad, one thing about having kids, you don't have a lot of free hands, right? Is that one of the reasons you got into the backpack, duffel bag sort of thing? Like,
so I can put them in it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Put them in it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's, I really connect. I call them Team OHMY, and I just, the followers or the customers and that kind of thing, like, I really feel like they're part of the team. And I, earlier in March and kind of when COVID hit and everything was shut down, I really reached out and connected with people and just said, like, what do you want to see next from us? Because we have a lot of ideas. We think that they're good, but we also want to listen to you guys. And so a big one was bucket hats. So here we are. Yeah. We did bucket hats, and that was a slam dunk. Like, that was easy. It was like, kids said do bucket hats. We did bucket hats. We sold a bunch of bucket hats. Thanks, guys. That's awesome. Right? And then people had the same thing happen with the backpack and the duffel bag. And they were like, man, if I had a bag, like, I go to the gym or I go to my team or I go play or I go to school or whatever it is, right? And it's like, I would rep OHMY on a backpack or a duffel bag or a road trip, right? And like those kind of things. And you went like, yeah, that really does make sense, right? And we had tossed around that idea before, but you go, okay, like, let's really try this. And then you source a backpack and put the athletic touches on it. And the whole idea of the Letterman project was like the letters that the varsity jackets have,
right?
With this chenille. And so like that, the patch on it is this big OHMY chenille patch. Like it's that kind of timeless, old school work ethic, athletic piece that fits right with our brand. And then being an apparel company, it'd be silly to ship a bag empty. So we made it a mystery bag. So there's t-shirts and a hoodie and a crew neck and a toque that all goes in it, that it's all part of the package. And
oh, that's fantastic, man.
I'm so excited for people to see it. Like it's shipping out tomorrow kind of thing for everybody. So
well, I was creeping your Instagram there with all the stuff there, and that was one of the things that stood out was the bag looks phenomenal, man. So congrats on that design. Very cool.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Tell me about Out Hustle My Yesterday. I love the name, man. And the fact that you can acronym it to OHMY is incredible. It's just like, it sums up sports so beautifully, of to work harder than you did the day before, right? What was it that was the inspiration for that? How did you come up with this name?
Yeah. So the short and long of it kind of is like, I knew that I wanted a short name that was bold, that was catchy kind of thing, but I knew that it had to stand for more than just whatever that was going to be. I wasn't just going to be, we're not in the 70s. You can't just be Nike and have that and Adidas. And like, that's really tough, right? Like that was going to be a hard kind of thing to make noise in this industry. So I went like, okay, I need a short name, but then I also need like a speed bump or a kind of a thing that draws people back in, that they go like, oh yeah, okay, that is me. That's what athletes do. And so like all my designs, it starts in my sketchbook, and I was writing down off-field apparel, off-court apparel, this. What are we? We're made for athletes. We're made for the big play. And then I wrote down OHMY. And I was like, ooh, yeah. I was like, yeah. And his name escapes me, but it's the San Diego Padres announcer forever. And he was a guy that like I listened to growing up, and he used to say it and then would be like, oh my, and you hear it all over the place. If you listen to a top 10, one of those 10, one of the announcers says it, right?
For sure.
So I was like, okay, we have it. There's the name. Then I went, now it has to stand for something. It has to be deeper than just OHMY. And so what could this mean? And so again, so now I have OHMY at the top page of my sketchbook, and I go back to it and I'm working it down, and I have out hustle, and I go, okay, that's great. And I had out hustle, and then I had most everyone. And I was like, could I get away with everyone being the Y? Like, it's kind of a stretch. This doesn't quite work. And I was like, damn, like we're stuck. And so, and my buddy Corey, who's now our sales guy in Winnipeg, he was in from the beginning, and he was like, man, this is awesome. This is awesome. And then he texted me one day and just said, hey man, think about it, sleep on it. And he's like, he's the nicest guy I'll ever meet. And so he's like being so nice in all these texts. And he's like, you don't have to take it. It's your baby, da 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 da. But what about out hustle my yesterday? And I just texted him back, and I'm like, that's it. I'm like, we have the name. Yeah, I didn't have to think about it. I was like, that's it. It's catchy. It's exactly what an athlete's trying to do, and it just fits. And so, yeah, once you have that, like that's your North Star. That's your kind of guiding light, and it just makes it, yeah.
I love that story, man. So organic how it came about. That's great. Like, and I'm a little surprised. I did not expect it to be, you had the acronym and then branched out from there. I really thought you just were like, wow, I would hustle my yesterday. Oh my, that works out perfect. It's, I love that you put so much thought into it. That's great, man.
Sorry to interrupt, guys. The San Diego Padres broadcaster, Dick Enberg.
Yes.
Ah, perfect.
Yeah.
Hey, Adam for the save. There we go. Were you always a Padres fan, bud?
No, I hate the Padres, but
nice. I love hearing that.
I'm a Phillies fan. Corey's from my buddy. Fan. Yeah, my buddy Corey's from Winnipeg. Like he moved to Winnipeg when he was 5, and he's from Philly, and I didn't have a team. And so I was like, because you didn't have access to watching them all play, right? And I went, okay, I'll watch.
Are you still a Phillies fan to this day?
Yeah, totally. I went through so many years of them being terrible that like winning the World Series and whatever, like 09 or whatever, and then having them be close again. So, yeah.
That's great. National League, are you into the DH, or would you rather see him go back to?
Could we please bring it? Could we please just have a DH?
Right. Thank you. I don't know if you've heard this, but I know Ken Rosenthal came out yesterday and was like, the decision's still up in the air, but it's looking like they're going to go back to pitchers hitting again. Yeah. And I'm just like, why?
Like they don't want it. We had to wait 20 years of Bartolo's career to see one home run. Like that's not worth it. Like,
yeah, it's not worth it. Thank you.
Yeah, like the playoffs were great this year, right? Like the season, the playoffs, like having that extra guy was awesome. Like,
yeah. How would you like? This is what I don't understand. And listen, I understand how traditional baseball fans can be, right? Like those old school guys that are like, if you're not a pitcher who's hitting, you shouldn't even be in the league, right? Our grandfathers are, But like, why would you rather see a pitcher hit than Nelson Cruz? Like, I don't understand that mentality.
Yeah. I've got my one buddy who's same thing, like behind the scenes, really supportive of OHMY. And like he, when they have these rule changes, he's always says, what if it was being changed the other way? So would we be so mad if there had been a DH for 50 years or whatever, and you were taking it away? And it's like, well, people would think that was stupid. So it's like, why can't we just look at this and go like, why can't we have a DH? Like there's nothing wrong with letting a professional hitter hit in a position instead of a pitcher. Like,
exactly. Especially at a time in baseball when pitchers are so valued, they're almost babied at this point of the game where it's like, because their value is so high to a team, you got to protect your assets. So why are we for one league being like, okay, you're the most vulnerable and most valuable person on this team, but also go hit? Like what?
Well, and now we're going to pull you in the 4th inning when we maybe would have got 5 out of you, which is still a stretch at this day and age, but it's like, now you're turning the lineups up. So we're taking you out, and it's like, no, like, let that guy go his 5 or 6 innings and let a guy hit.
No kidding. So I'm curious then, as a Phillies fan, I mean, I love Matt Stairs. Who was your favorite? Who was your favorite Philly growing up?
Jimmy Rollins.
Okay,
I was a shortstop. I mean, I was a shortstop growing up. So when Jimmy Rollins and Chase Utley showed up, you were just, as a middle infielder, I was like, I want to be as cool as both of these guys. They're the best. Like, and Jimmy was he was incredible. So
he was incredible. So was
Utley. Yeah, Matt Stairs. Oh man, Matt Stairs, that home run. I think I'd probably watch that once a month. Like it'll show up on something, and I'm just like, yeah, let's go watch that again. Like,
oh no, I get it. I do the same thing. I do the same thing for the bat flip.
Yeah.
Do you have an American League team? Do you follow the Jays a bit? You're one of those guys. You don't like the Jays, do you?
I don't. I don't like the Jays.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on, Duncan. We'll talk to you later.
You know what? You know why I don't like the Jays? I don't like the Jays because they were mediocre for so many years when they were the only team I could watch.
Yeah.
And I had to sit through so many kind of boring, mediocre seasons where I was like, yeah, but when they play this team, that team's way more exciting. Why would I cheer for these guys? So I never really kind of jumped on as a fan of them. I liked the Astros up until whatever.
Yeah.
They started banging on trash cans. I loved that it was homegrown guys coming up. Like, it was really kind of a cool story. And as a short middle infielder, like Jose Altuve, I was like,
of course,
he's incredible. I honestly, I think the White Sox are going to be really fun to watch for the next couple of years.
Oh, buddy, I do too.
Like,
I don't know if you saw, they just got Lance Lynn today.
I did see that. Yeah,
that's gonna.
But like, that lineup is like dripping with talent and confidence, and like, it's what baseball needs. It's fun to watch. Like,
how did you feel about La Russa getting hired? Because that's like kind of the opposite as to what baseball's doing. Yeah,
it was a little confusing. I thought with that group, you kind of turned them over to a player's manager who was just like, yo, Tim Anderson, go do your thing. Luis Robert, go hit balls 500 feet and like wear the biggest chain you want. Like, I don't care. You know, like, I really thought they maybe would have got somebody, I don't know who, but like maybe like a Dusty Baker or something, right? If you wanted an old guy, but somebody who is more known as being a player's manager. But
for sure. Now, we'll go back to OHMY for a second here. You're not really specific to any one sport, right? You're just pretty as broad as it is. If you're athletic, this is the stuff for you type of thing.
Yeah. And I mean, we've done signature tees for Tyler O'Neill and Mike Soroka on the baseball side.
Very cool.
And then also Bully by Mitchell as far as the CFL and football goes.
Yeah.
But that's more a product of those guys really embraced the brand. They were pumped to rep it. And then they're just they're cool athletes and stuff. And they had we had some really kind of cool ideas as far as the signature stuff goes. So then we said like, hey, what do you guys think about this? We're going to create this. And all three of them were pretty stoked about that. So definitely would like to get into hockey more, but hockey's tough because those kids get so much so early, and not in a bad way. It's great. Like, we live in Canada, they're celebrated, but like the WHL kids go like, well, why would I want a free t-shirt from you? I get this. Whereas like the AA kid in the like the minors is like, yeah, then I don't have to do laundry so much. Oh, this is a really nice shirt. Oh, it's made for athletes. Whoa, yeah, for sure I'm on board, right? So like it's just a little different. But
no, for sure. I mean, the AA kid is riding the bus and making nothing. So
exactly.
Yeah. I know you talked about your signature stuff here. Is there one particular piece, whether it be signature for, let's say, a Tyler O'Neill, or whether it's just an item for everyone? Is there one particular piece that you have designed that you are incredibly proud of, that it's like listen, as a comic, all my jokes are my babies. So to pick one, I don't want to do that. But do you have one that you're particularly pleased with?
Yeah. So I think I have two.
Okay.
I think I have two.
I said one, Duncan. No.
I would say, and yes, very good point about the like, yeah, they're all my babies. I'm like, yeah, no, they're all good.
Yeah.
But so for sure, we this summer we did one that was a kid with a dream. It's called Kid with a Dream. It's got OHMY in the background. It's got a maple leaf. Then got OHMY across the chest, and it was kind of our first real nod to like, hey, we're Canadian, and we want to rep that Canadian athlete, and we really want them to know that we have their back, right? And just, we get it that like, if you're not a hockey player, and not all our athletes that buy stuff from us, or the customers and stuff, right? Like they don't all play hockey, right? So it's like, we know that if you're not a hockey player, it can be a tough, bit more tough sledding in Canada to kind of get the traction and get where you want to go. And so we wanted to make something that really spoke to those athletes. so that one's been awesome. And then honestly, one of the first ones we ever did, it says always at the top, and then it's got humble hustle broken up, and then it says on and off the field. And so, we called it the mindset tee, and at some point we'll probably bring it back. But that one, I get so many people that send me, there's like you find it at Chapters or something, and it's like always, and then it reads always humble, and then it says hustle hard, and humble and hustle is split. And people message me and they're like, man, did they steal your thing? Did they steal your thing? And I'm like, no, ours reads two different ways. This only reads one way. You can read ours always hustle on and off the field, or you can read always humble on and off the field. Right. And so that just kind of goes to like, we really do put some more time into stuff and really try to take it that extra level and think about that with all our designs. And so that one's kind of stood that test of time a little bit. And so when people reach out every time, I'm always like, yeah, but look at ours. It's slightly better. So
I really like the integration of humble into that. And it almost encompasses what you were talking and with the piece you were talking about earlier with the Canadian thing, right? Like it's one thing Canadian athletes have kind of separated themselves from the pack, especially when it comes to hockey, right? It seems to be a little bit more of a humble sport. Not that I don't love a good NBA game where they're like, the biggest show out there. I love that too, the bravado. But there is something to be said about the humble, and I love how you kind of integrated it into the shirt like that. That's cool, man.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. I really think there's something to be said for that quiet confidence. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm the same as you. Like, I'm like, man, that guy put on a show. Like, that's fun to watch.
Yeah.
But like, there's something kind of so cold when the guy's like, I hit it, and I'm just gonna put my bat down and just run around the bases or something. And I'm not saying you can't. Like, I'm all for the bat flip.
Yeah, bat flip away for sure.
But like, when you hit a big three and you just kind of stand there, you're like, oh yeah, he knew that was going in. Like, that's a different level of like, I got you kind of thing. So yeah.
Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah.
Like encompasses that, and there is something to be said for, again, like I love, we were talking about him earlier with the White Sox. Like I love Tim Anderson. I love watching him play, but the guy bat flips doubles, like, like, yeah. So when people are looking for your stuff, like go ahead and lay your socials on us here. Where can people get OHMY Apparel?
So if you're looking to buy, it's just teamohmy.com. So that's the website. If you want to follow us on Instagram, it's OHMY_apparel. Somebody's out there has OHMY Apparel, all one word. So if you know them, message them and tell them they should give it to us. But yeah, OHMY_apparel is where you can find us on Instagram and Twitter. And then just OHMY Apparel on Facebook. And I really try to use Instagram to really showcase the story behind the brand. Twitter's more where we talk and connect and showcase like a lot of athletes kind of thing. Like, if it doesn't even matter if you're following us, it's like you did something cool, like, hey, look at this guy, he's working hard kind of thing. And then Facebook's just more our longer form, more for the parents when they're like, oh, here's the story behind this or whatever, right? And just give them kind of, so yeah, you certainly don't, we try not to kind of have it all tripled up and it's always the exact same stuff. It's more of a 3 different voices. So yeah.
I'm curious, being so reliant on the online side of things,
scary as hell.
With this whole pandemic thing that hit, have you noticed a drop in business, or has it been business as usual, being that you were kind of based online anyways, and that's probably the way people are shopping right now as it is?
Yeah, so we certainly were insulated as far as the website sales go and stuff, because everybody was used to going online to get it anyways, and to following various channels for the new releases and stuff. So as far as the kind of the OHMY line that's on the website, we've been very fortunate with that, and people understanding, I think too, that it is a small business and that we do need your support, and just honestly, I think some people were like, oh yeah, we haven't ordered for a while, like we should again, kind of thing. Right. And so we've been very fortunate with that, and big shout out to everybody that's been supporting us that way. And sure, I mean, the team stuff was down, right? Like I do custom shirts for teams where we work an OHMY logo into their logo or whatever their kind of rallying cry is that year. And obviously there's been less team sports, so you see a bit of a decline in that. But you just kind of have to know that's coming back. And so whether it's, I mean, we've reached out to some teams and sent them wristbands. We've just even still promoted what they're doing, kind of thing, right? And it's like, you know that they're coming back and that they've been good to you in the past, and that when
well, I'm curious, obviously
you'll be able to do it. So
yeah, for sure. And I'm curious because you're obviously a big sports fan, and it's been a weird year for fans, to say the least. I mean, all sports shut down in March, and then some started back up, and there were bubbles and everything was weird. Have you noticed differences in your life because of either a lack of sports or just how differently it's been presented?
I think I've been very,
and I'll give an example on my end.
Okay.
Like even when I talk to my dad on the phone, our phone conversations have gone from 45 minutes to about 5. Like all of a sudden we're both hit a point where we're like, okay, I guess we'll let you go now. Like instead of having a 30-minute Blue Jays talk or whatever it is, right? Like,
yeah. Well, that's a good point. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, that's certainly my dad and I on the text thread hasn't been as popping with sports stuff. That's for sure. But yeah, I've been fortunate. Like in the summer, I coached here with the Calgary Cubs, and we were able to put together a very safe but successful season from June to August, kind of thing, and then into the fall. And so I was still exposed to sports that way. I'm with you though. Like I think it's so weird that like Aaron Rodgers can call an audible in the Superdome and everybody can hear it. I'm like, that's not real.
Right?
Like, you shouldn't be able to hear yourself. Like, so there's certainly some things there where you're just like, man, what is going on? Like this is
all of a sudden Tropicana Field is loud. You're like, what's happening?
Yeah. Like I feel like we know enough in 2020 that we should have had it be like, okay, so the Saints can pump in whatever 100 and this many decibels, and Tropicana and the Rays, you only get 30.
You're not allowed to go louder than you would normally get.
Yeah. Like I feel like we could have measured that and had it. I think it would have been really interesting, right? Like nobody's at the Marlins game, so like they don't get anything. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I love that. I love that idea. Yeah. All right, my man. I really appreciate you coming on. Before I let you go here, did you have anything coming up you wanted to plug? Anything that you wanted to mention?
No, we're stocked up for Christmas and still shipping stuff out in this Christmas season. Just got toques in and some of our crew necks and hoodies, kind of thing. So we'll be shipping right up until kind of whatever day they tell me it's not going to get delivered for Christmas, but we'll still send it out because you never know, kind of thing. And so, but yeah, just can follow us wherever and feel free to reach out. And we're always, we're looking for new ideas and kind of featuring some athletes going forward. We got kind of a cool thing coming up, kind of an athlete showcase thing coming up in the new year that should be kind of an exciting little spin on what we do. So, yeah.
Fantastic. Thanks so much for joining us, man. Honestly, Duncan, as a fellow independent artist, I really appreciate what you're doing, and congratulations on your last 2 years of success. That's incredible, man. Good for you.
Thanks for having me, Scott and Adam. I really appreciate this. This was
honestly.